ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Monday Night Football Overtime. Eagles, Cowboys, NFC East family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. And that was some vicious, flavor delicious, 40 burger nasty family business. Nasty 40 burger with cheese. Let me get a double with cheese. Got the sauce and the juice dripping down my wrist. That was vicious. And I loved every second of it. Now, I would have preferred a tie between these two teams, but at the end of the day, I pretty much said that the Eagles are going to stink this year. And I think that was this game doesn't mean that the Eagles are going to stink. I just think it's a representation of what I think they're going to be, similar to last week when they were only able to score 11 points. I don't think the Eagles are a very good team, and it's going to continue to play itself out throughout the course of this season, not to mention the NFC East plays one hell of a schedule. And so in my mind, they're going to struggle because the schedule is going to be brutal. And I think they played the Chiefs next, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it doesn't get any easier for the Eagles, other than the Cowboys are really talented on the offensive side of the football. So when I look at this particular game, the first thing that jumped out at me is the thing that I've been talking about all offseason, and that's how talented the Dallas Cowboys are on offense. And if Dak Prescott is healthy, they're going to be a tough team to deal with offensively. Now, I've also said that I felt like the biggest offseason acquisition for the Cowboys wasn't any of the players they drafted. It wasn't any free agents, if they signed any. I don't even know if they signed a couple, and they've actually been playing really well. Jaron Kearse has been playing really well. So has DeMonte Casey, who came over from Atlanta. Same thing with the linebacker turned safety turned linebacker from the Falcons as well, Keanu Neal. They all came over in free agency. But I said none of those guys moved the needle as much as their new defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. They're going to be they're going to be better on defense. Not good. They're going to be better on defense because Dan Quinn's presence is going to make them better. You go from a numbskull as a defensive coordinator in Nolan to Dan Quinn, and it just completely changes who the Cowboys are defensively. And I always told you guys, they have talent. This was the same Cowboys defense that, 3-4 years ago, they were one of the better units in football. Don't tell me that they didn't have talent. So, they bring in some other guys. I'm not saying that this defense is revamped and all of a sudden now the Dallas Cowboys defensively are juggernauts, because you just look at who they've played in the first 3 weeks, and you don't need to go much further than that to know that they haven't had any real true tests defensively. The Chargers don't score points. Even when they win, they don't score a ton of points. And, they played the Eagles this week. The Eagles have struggled to score each of the last 2 weeks. And if you watched them in week 1 against Atlanta, they were struggling in that game until the fourth quarter to put up points. And in week 1, they put up points against Tampa is a team that can score points. And I thought they really did a good job of kind of holding them down a bit. So I've been impressed with Dallas's defense to this point. Really have seen some guys. Trayvon Diggs was a star tonight. Absolute star. We know Michael Parsons is a budding star in the making. I talked about how good that kid can be if he just keeps his head screwed on straight. He's got immense potential. As a matter of fact, I don't know why the hell they had him in the game up 41-14. He catches a rib shot late that I don't. Hopefully he's not injured too seriously. But why the hell is he in the game at 41-14? I don't understand that. But some studs. And the second thing I noticed after Dallas's offense being explosive and dynamic and Cedric Wilson stepping up, I told you this was going to be a preview of Dallas allowing their other receiver who got hurt in week 1, who is a free agent after the season. Damn, I can see his face. I can't think of his name. I said, this is a preview of what life after this season will be like when he's gone. And Cedric Wilson's like, yo, I'm good. I can step up and be that guy for you. And he's showing them that right now. So at the end of the day, the Cowboys have just they're oozing talent on the offensive side of the football. The second takeaway from tonight's game, though, for Dallas was just how fast they are on defense. And I've talked about that in the preseason when I said, man, they're flying around out there, and they weren't even playing all of their defensive starters, but I'm like, you can see that they've got some speed on defense. Well, I think you could really see it tonight, man. Jalen Hurts, he's no slouch, man, especially when he decides to tuck it and run. He had nowhere to go. He couldn't run. He couldn't hide. That offensive line for the Eagles was absolutely obliterated tonight by the Cowboys front. When they brought pressure, there was nowhere for him to go. When he tried to escape the pocket, they were running him down, forcing him to either get down, take a shot, or run out of bounds. They were everywhere, and they were flying around. And they were physical. They were ferocious. Their defense right now is reminding me a lot. And it's funny that people always say, Dan Quinn's defense is sucked in Atlanta. Why do you think he's going to be any good? I'm like, well, you're not thinking about the Dan Quinn defenses in Atlanta when he first got there, when the Falcons were actually really good and going to the Super Bowl. That year after they went to the Super Bowl, the defense was the best part of the Falcons football team, not the offense. And even the year they won the Super Bowl, no, the defense wasn't great, but you could see they were forming the foundation of that defense, starting to get it. And the one thing about the Falcons that always existed was that they were undersized, always, but they were fast and they were physical. And that's what you're seeing with this Dallas Cowboys defense. They're not the biggest in the world, but they fly around and they're physical, and they're taking on the identity of their defensive coordinator. And it was impressive. Tonight was an impressive showing for the whole world to see. And I mean, I thought Dallas was the best team going into the regular season. I still had questions about their defense. I still have questions about their defense, and which is why I gave Washington the nod. But, I had been telling Washington fans all offseason that I thought Dallas was going to win the division. I still think Washington is going to win this division until I, see that Washington can't get their defensive woes together. But right now, who looks better than Dallas in the division? And obviously, Dallas is the only team with 2 wins in the division, so it's easy to say, hey, they're the best. But they'll get a real test next week against Carolina. That'll be the best defensive team they've seen all season long in the Panthers. It sucks that there'll be no Christian McCaffrey for that game, so that will stunt the growth of that Panthers offense. And I want to see how Sam Darnold does against the pressure that the Cowboys may be able to apply on him, because when he gets under pressure, he still is prone to doing stupid shit. So that'll be a fun game to see what happens, because the Panthers are 3-0 and they're riding high, and they got an abundance of confidence right now. And the Cowboys are coming off of this beatdown of the Eagles, and now they're riding high and they're feeling good about themselves at 2-1. That's going to be a big time matchup next week on the schedule. But when you look at this Cowboys football team, you look at the offense, you look at their ability to throw it and sling it around the football field. You look at all the weapons. And I talked about this, they got all these weapons at receiver, and you forget about the tight ends. Dalton Schultz was fantastic tonight. I mean, they've got weapons everywhere. I love Tony Pollard as a football player. When you look at all of that conglomerate of talent that they have, if they could just stay healthy, especially along the offensive line, they're going to be tough to deal with on that side of the football. I still have my reservations about their defense. Just because you're fast, just because you're physical, doesn't mean you're going to be good. But the seeds have been planted defensively with Dan Quinn, and he's brought over some guys to instill that mindset in the Cowboys, and Damontae Kazee and the linebacker, I forgot his name already again. But they have all of the pieces that they need defensively. And they did this without D-Law. Keep that in mind. Their best defensive player did not play tonight. So it was pretty damn impressive by the Cowboys to put up a double 40 burger with cheese on the Philadelphia Eagles, 41-21. Now, when you take it to the Eagles side of things, I'm not the biggest Jalen Hurts fan. That's been documented. I think he stinks. Tonight didn't help his case, although I will say he didn't get much help from his teammates tonight. That offensive line was a shell of itself. Obviously, their left tackle, Jordan Mailata, didn't even play tonight. And I think Brandon Brooks was out as well. Like their offensive line was a sieve. And you could tell that they were missing a huge part of that offensive line. But at the end of the day, Jalen Hurts still, to me, stinks. The play I got the biggest kick out of is when he throws the pick six to Trayvon Diggs. And he goes over to the sidelines. And he walks over to Devontae Smith and he says, "Hey, man, what happened?" And Devontae says, "I fell." He says, "You fell?" And then he's like, "Man." And I know Devontae in his head is saying, "Man, you threw that shit 2 yards behind me. That shit was getting picked whether I fell or not. He might not have scored. I might have been able to tackle him, but that shit was getting picked anyway. Because I fell didn't change the fact that you threw that ball a yard behind me. The shit was getting picked anyway." I mean, that to me was comical. "You fell? What happened?" No, that was a poorly thrown football is what that was. Anyway, it wasn't just Jalen Hurts. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed tonight. I mean, the Cowboys essentially, God forbid that the Cowboys didn't have the fumble interception, in the end zone, whatever you want to call it, fumble interception. He caught it. It didn't hit the ground. So whatever you want to call that, I think they'll probably rule it a fumble for the touchdown and didn't, and also failed to get in. Got to give the Eagles credit there for the quarterback sneak. God forbid that those two things didn't transpire, or else this is a 50 burger and this thing is like 50-7 or 50-14. This thing would have gotten out of control a lot sooner if not for those two plays in the first half. Because without that fumble, they don't have the touchdown there. And without the stop on the goal line on the quarterback sneak, the Cowboys have another 7 points there. This thing's 21-0 without those two plays instead of 14-7. So this thing could have gotten out of control a lot faster. And it's because this Eagles defense had no answer for what Dallas was doing. They couldn't consistently get stops. I don't think they created a single turnover tonight. And this was the Dallas Cowboys offense that had turned it over in each of the first two games. I think they had one turnover. Dak Prescott had to pick against the Bucs. And then last week, it was a comedy of errors for the Cowboys, but they somehow found a way to get it done, 17-20 over the Chargers. But it was not a pretty performance by any stretch of the imagination by the Cowboys offense last week. They were really saved by their defense, and even they got a couple of breaks from the officials last week. So to not be able to force a single turnover, to not be able to get consistent stops, Dak was really not under, heavy pressure. Although there were some instances, man, Fletcher Cox, he's a grown-ass man. Did you see what he did to Connor Williams on that one ball? Oh, my God. He took Connor Williams, dump trucked him, put him on his ass, and almost got to Dak. I mean, Fletcher Cox is a grown-ass man. My goodness. The Eagles do have some dogs on that defensive line. I do have to give them credit where credit is due. That defensive line is something else. But the big problem for them is they got nothing at linebacker, and their secondary outside of – and they were missing one of their safeties in the game tonight that didn't help. But, outside of Darius Slay, it really isn't much that scares you back there, even though I don't think Steven Nelson's a bad player. Opposite of Darius Slay, I'm not afraid to go after, Steven Nelson. So the secondary was a huge problem. This linebackers were a huge problem in this football game. They weren't able to stop the run consistently. It felt like Zeke was getting 6 a pop. Same with Tony Pollard. They didn't really have any answers for Dallas's offensive attack in any phase. Run game, play action fake, drop back, quick game. Whatever Dallas wanted to do, screen game, it was available to them in this game. And the Eagles simply had no answer. And that's a little disheartening if you're an Eagles fan, especially after the first two performances of the season. Now, again, you'll have Eagles fans tell you this guy was hurt, that guy was hurt, this, that, and the third. But this was the first real offensive test you faced all season long, and you failed miserably. Okay, the Atlanta Falcons aren't an offensive juggernaut. They're not that team anymore. And the 49ers, I think you did a really good job of shutting down their run game and really forcing Jimmy G to have to beat you. And he really, he did enough, but that's not what they want to do. They don't want to put the game in the hands of Jimmy G, and you force them to have to essentially do that. But I don't think the 49ers are what you would, term offensively explosive. This was the first explosive offense that you faced all season, and you failed that test. Now you get a pissed off Kansas City Chiefs team that are losers of 2 straight. And I can't tell you the last time the Chiefs have lost 2 consecutive games. They've got to take that out on somebody. I think that somebody might be the Philadelphia Eagles next week. So it could go from bad to worse really quickly if you don't get on your horse and figure some things out next week. If you're Philadelphia, the season is not over. The sky is not falling. You're 1 game away from not only being back to 500, which is what I have to try to remind Washington fans all the time, but you're also 1 game away from being back in first place. If the Cowboys lose to the Panthers next week and you somehow beat Kansas City next week, you're tied for first place again. So, it's not the end of the world, but this is a stretch for you. This is a big stretch of football because much like with Washington and really the Giants as well, because their season is on life support now, you've got to find a way to win some games maybe that you weren't really thinking you were going to have to win going into the season to really save your season now. The Giants didn't think they would be 0-3 after the first 3 weeks, but here they are. And if they don't win a game here shortly, this division, if Dak Prescott is healthy, what tonight solidifies for anybody watching is that if Dak Prescott is healthy, this division isn't going to be won with 8 or 9 wins, okay? I've been saying this all along, that this division will be won with 10. Now, with the way Dallas is playing, it might be won with more than 10. I still contend that the Cowboys will lose some games that they don't have any business losing, and they'll lose to some of the teams they're supposed to lose to, and they may beat a team or 2 that we didn't think they would beat. But at the end of the day, I don't see the Cowboys going 12-5 or 13-4 or anything crazy like that. I think they are capable of winning 10, possibly 11 games, but I think they're more likely than not going to be in that 9-11 range, more likely than not. So they're going to make it tough for whoever is trying to win a division. I think you've got to win it at 10, minimum of 10. And what you saw tonight, what you saw last week, what you saw against the Buccaneers in week 1 is that with Dak healthy, this defense is improved. It may not be as good as it's looked the last 2 weeks, because they looked really good against the Chargers last week and they looked really good tonight. They may not be as good as they've looked the last 2 weeks, right? But if they're just improved, which it looks like they are, with the offensive firepower that they have, this division isn't going to be won at 9-8 or 8-9. They're going to win, 10 games. So you got to get on your horse if you're trying to compete for the NFC East crown. So what Dallas effectively did was they put the rest of the division on notice. Like, if y'all ain't on this, if y'all not on what we trying to do over here, then better luck next year, because this is what we on right now. So this was impressive, but I'm not chalking anything up. I'm not deferring, and I'm definitely not handing over the division to the Cowboys right now because they destroyed the Eagles on Monday Night Football. I and most people thought that the Eagles were going to stink this year anyway. So the narrative, because they beat up on Atlanta in week 1, the narrative didn't change from all the rational people. All the Eagles fans thought that they were going to be something great this year after they destroyed the Falcons. Well, the Falcons stink too. So nobody with a rational mind thought that the Eagles were going to be any better than what we thought before the season because they beat the Atlanta Falcons in week 1. So so essentially what I'm telling you is the Cowboys destroying the Eagles doesn't move the needle for me. It just shows that, and I've always said, all you can do is beat the team that they put in front of you. They put the Eagles in front of them tonight, and the Cowboys disintegrated them. They put them in the incinerator, and they destroyed them, chopped them up into fine little pieces, and made them into a 40 burger and took a massive bite. That's all. And I'm not mad at them for doing that. I ain't glad at them, but I ain't mad at them either. So They look good tonight. You could be the biggest Cowboys hater in the world, but they look good tonight. So let's get to the comment section. And if you're out there and you want to comment, use the hashtag LouieTLive to do that. If you want to jump to the front of the line, super chats are the way to do that. So without any further ado, let's get to the proceedings this evening. So we got a super chat here from Fat American. Thank you for the super chat, Fat American. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, and want to thank all the members of the mob for the chat tonight. It was fun. I enjoyed myself thoroughly, and I hope you did the same. My guy, Fat American, writes 2005. That's an inside Mob Squad joke, and I get it. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. I want to thank you and Fat American for being members of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you guys. Who writes, LB about to cry on his stream, blaming the coaches. It's always somebody else's fault. That's what you got to love about losers. Losers can't ever take their loss in stride. They can't ever just accept defeat. They always got to blame somebody. It's always somebody's fault. It's not Jalen Hurts' fault. He wasn't asked tonight. The offensive line, it wasn't their fault. They weren't asked tonight. It's the coach's fault. And he might be right. Okay? He might be right. It might have been the coach's fault. Knowing that you were a couple of guys short on the offensive line, knowing that the Cowboys had an aggressive defensive front, knowing that the Cowboys are fast on defense and Jalen Hurts wasn't going to be able to use his legs tonight, maybe they should have gone in a different direction with their offense. I know one thing, Miles Sanders didn't touch it nearly enough tonight. Maybe that's a byproduct of them not understanding who their personnel is, but Miles Sanders should have been touching the football a lot more tonight, and he didn't. And I thought they should have gone to their tight ends some more tonight, and they didn't. So maybe there is some credence to that, but at the end of the day, you got your ass beat badly. Somebody's got to take the blame, right? Somebody's got to take the blame. Anyway, yes. Deontay Cole, Michael Gallup. That life without Gallup, they're seeing what that's like, and they're feeling more confident and comfortable that they can allow him to walk in free agency and not have to ante up. They were nervous because at one point he was looking like their best receiver. Even though they got Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, every time the game was on the line, they were throwing the ball to Michael Gallup. But he gets hurt, and now they're seeing, oh shit, we got number one stepping up. We good. We fine. Silver V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Silver V writes, on another note, is it safe to say that it's time to get Justin Tucker tested for PEDs? I'm not saying, I'm just saying, LOL. The man is a kicking machine. He's the best to ever do it. He's the best I've ever seen. And I told you, when it's all said and done, to me, he's a Hall of Famer. He's just the best, man. He's just the best. Kevin the PRF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Kevin the PRF, thank you for being a member of the Mob Squad, who writes, is anyone getting a shorter end of the stick than Miles Sanders? He's completely forgotten. It sucks when you're a really quality running back with a team that doesn't really believe in utilizing the running back. I mean, it's crazy. They are using Kenneth Gainwell more than Miles Sanders. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you do understand that Miles Sanders, when healthy, is one of the better running backs in the National Football League, right? And I don't think they understand that. But again, that's not my problem. Not my problem at all. Let's see. The Phillies Ace 34. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Louie T, you're the man, my friend. No, you are the man. He said, we lost to a better team. We have a lot of issues to hopefully get better. Let's hope Dallas will crumble. Let's hope that they will crumble. I can tell you this, that they right now look like the best team in this division. Their defense, of all the teams in the division, their defense is the only one that looks like a semblance of a defense right now. Their defense or their offense was the best going into the regular season, and that hasn't changed. We all agree, again, don't matter how you feel about the Cowboys or Dak Prescott, we all agree that they've got the best quarterback in the division. And now we can agree to disagree on how good Dak is. I've said that Dak's a top 10 quarterback in this league. If not top 10, he's right on the cusp of top 10. So top 12, like he's right there. If you don't believe Dak Prescott's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, that's fine. He's 11 or 12. I mean, he's that good. I think he's in the top 10. And you'd be hard pressed to put, 10 guys in front of Dak Prescott when you start listing off the names. And I'm not crazy for saying that. And you may think I'm crazy, but winning does matter. Obviously, that does have something to do with it. But you'll be hard pressed to find quarterbacks that have won more games than Dak Prescott since coming into the league. Now that I think about it, he's had some really impressive seasons from a win standpoint as well. I mean, damn, his rookie season, I think he went 13-3, but that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is, if he's healthy, it's hard for me to see Dallas crumbling. They may lose some games because of coaching, because I still don't believe in Mike McCarthy as a head coach. Everything looks great and everything feels good when you're destroying your opponent. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, I still think they want to throw it more than they want to run it. They will be unbalanced, and I think you can get them to make some mistakes as a staff. But we'll see. This was really impressive, though, as I said again tonight. So, yes, the Eagles do have a lot of issues, but they were supposed to. Only delusional Eagles fans felt like they weren't going to have issues this year. Everything was set up for the Eagles to struggle this season. It really was. And I could be wrong about the Eagles. And again, their season is not over. I have to continue to say this because there are people that will think after this ass whooping, oh, the Eagles are done. Stick a fork in them. But I remember looking at their schedule after they beat the Falcons, because Eagles fans were going nuts after that week 1 win. You would have thought that they just punched their ticket to the NFC Championship game after everybody told them that they were going to be a 6 or 5 win team this season. So after week 1, I had to go to the schedule just to remind them that the shit is not as simple as you think. You just beat up on one of the worst teams in not just the NFC, probably the entire league when it's all said and done, in the Atlanta Falcons. Let's pump your brakes. I said, you got the 49ers next week at home. You got the Cowboys on a Monday night in Dallas. After that, let's see what you do in those 2 games. You got the Chiefs after that. And I think the Bucks are coming somewhere, and the Raiders, and, like, shit's about to get real, I said. And so far, since I made that statement, they're 0-2. And I don't think it's getting any easier. I know they have the Chiefs next week. So it's not getting any easier. Now, the Chiefs are 1-2. They got the same record as the Eagles. So if you're an Eagles fan and you're delusional, you say, shit, they got the same record as us. Why we can't beat them? Because they have Patrick Mahomes and you don't. That's why. But we'll see. The Chiefs are struggling right now. So we'll see what the hell happens. But if I were you, I would not put my money on the Eagles next week. So I don't know if there'll be any crumbling of the Cowboys this year. I'll just say that. San8, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy San8 writes, Miles Sanders got the ball twice. What the F? Are you serious? So watching the game in the moment, I felt like he didn't touch it enough, and I felt like I didn't see him nor say his name enough. But 2 times? Are you serious? Nah, I got to go check that out, man. San, you got to be pulling my damn leg. No way. I refuse to believe that Miles Sanders only touched it twice. He probably had some catches. No way. I'm not going to believe that. No way. I got to go look for myself. That's hard to believe. I'm going straight to the box score. 2 rushes for 27 yards, and he had 3 catches. So he had 5 touches on the evening. Yeah, that's still ridiculous. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell had 3 catches, and 1 rush. There should never be a game where Miles Sanders is healthy and he only has one more touch than Kenneth Gainwell. There should never be a game. Never. All caps. Never be a game in which Miles Sanders has one more touch than Kenneth Gainwell. I'm not saying don't give Kenneth Gainwell opportunities. I like him as a football player. I think he's dynamic. But I'm pretty sure if I go to the Cowboys side of things, I guarantee you Ezekiel Elliott has more than one touch than Tony Pollard. Let's see. Hopefully they don't make an ass out of me. Tony Pollard had one catch and he had 11 carries. 12 total touches for Tony Pollard. Ezekiel Elliott had 17 carries and he had 3 catches. So 20 total touches for Ezekiel Elliott. So he had 8 more touches than that of Tony Pollard. That's how the distribution should be. That's how the distribution should be when you've got a starter back that is of the caliber of a Miles Sanders or an Ezekiel Elliott or a Saquon Barkley, at the least 7 to 10 more touches than the next guy at your position. Minimum. Shouldn't be close, though. Yet, Miles Sanders had 2 carries and 3 catches. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, had 9 carries. And I get it. He's a quarterback. He touches it on every play. How many of those were called runs? How many of those were read options? They need more touches for Miles Sanders. That's ridiculous. Man, Sand 8, thank you for that super chat because I had no idea he only got the ball 5 times in the game. It felt like it in the moment watching that he didn't touch it enough. I just didn't know how infrequently he was touching the football. Yikes. Jordy Goat, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, Jordy Goat, who writes, have you seen the Brian Baldinger video on Washington's D versus the Bills? Also, what do you think about Ron not owning up after the game? Also, great content. Yes, I saw the video. I actually retweeted it on my Twitter page and on my Twitter feed. So it's on the timeline. As far as Ron not owning up after the game, I didn't feel like that was the case. I thought, and I'm more so interested in what Ron has to say after the day after, because when you lose a game, I always feel like the worst time to talk to somebody that's ultra and hyper competitive is right after a game. I don't want to talk about that shit. You ask me the wrong question, you're liable to get cussed out. And some of these players and coaches have the patience of a saint. And I commend them because it's their job and you have to be professional. But some of these questions are stupid. And you watch the game, so why are you asking me dumb shit? And, you got to keep your composure. And so I don't really take too much stock into what is said directly after the game, unless it's something obvious. I want to know how he feels after he's watched the tape. He's had a chance to cool off and really assess the situation, internalize everything. Now, what does he have to say? And I thought what he said after his presser today, or what he said during his presser today, rather, was reflective of a guy that sees immaturity in the team, sees a lot of guys that are not doing the things that they're being coached to do. He was very critical of Taylor Heineke, which he should have been after the game against Buffalo. He was critical of the defenders not being where they're supposed to be. He defended Jack and said that he loved the calls, didn't have any problems with the calls after the game. But then today he doubled back and said, hey, we as coaches have to do a better job of putting the players in positions to make plays. We have to do a better job of setting guys up for success. I think he's talking more along the defensive side of the football than he is on the offensive side. He could be talking about both, but I think he's more so talking about the defensive side of the football. So I think he did take credit, and own up to some things today. I thought that he was a lot more reflective today than he was yesterday. He was kind of standoffish yesterday, just a little bit, not really, in any event. I thought today's comments were what I was looking for. I needed to hear that from him, and I felt good listening to hear, him say some of the things that he said. So, and yes, I saw the Brian Baldinger, and I agree with him. Last year's defense was flying around. We were fast, we were physical, we were sort of like this Cowboys defense. We were flying around, 11 hats to the football. We're not doing that right now. So anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat. My guy, John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, couple takeaways from this game. One, that was a murder. Think there's been a murder. I can't think there's been. I think there's been a murder. There was definitely a murder. A couple of shots. Ah! Pop, pop, pop. Ah! A little bit of chalk on the field after the game, for sure. Two, the beat Dallas shirt Sirianni wore last week was bulletin board material for Dallas. I didn't know he did that, but I know he's supposed to be a big T-shirt guy. I know a lot's been made of his T-shirt game, and it's supposed to be wicked. But as a coach, it's cool to do cool things within the locker room. But when you start doing things outside the locker room that can get to the other team, you have problems. And sometimes that's what you get with some of these young coaches that don't get it. Like, he thinks it's cool. He wants to be his players' friends and stuff. He wants to be the cool guy. You better start winning some damn games. You can be the cool guy when you're the offensive coordinator or when you're the quarterback's coach. You can be the cool coach then, right? When you're the head coach, you got to put your foot down and make sure everybody respects what the hell you're doing. Not being the cool guy with the dope ass T-shirt game, with the mean T-shirt game, and beat Dallas. And again, I can't confirm nor deny that. I don't know anything about that. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. But if it's true, and I know he's supposed to have a mean T-shirt game out, I do know that. If he did that and he thought that it was going to benefit his team, he's a dumbass and deserved what he got tonight. And I hope that serves as a lesson to him. Thank you for the super chat, JP. The Phillies ace. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. My guy, the Phillies ace 34 writes, I know y'all don't think Hurts is more than a gimmick quarterback. If I had a gun to your head, who gets the most blame, Sirianni or Hurts? I think it was scheme. Look, Jalen Hurts didn't stand a chance tonight. I thought some of his teammates weren't very good. I thought the offensive line was tragically bad tonight. And again, they had a lot of guys out, so that makes sense. Dallas took advantage of that. But I thought he wasn't as accurate as he could have been with the football. That first interception, are you kidding me? His receiver had a step. How can you cannot throw that football that short and expect anything other than an interception? I mean, he was critically short. To me, they made mistakes from a schematic standpoint, absolutely. Any scheme, any game plan, and maybe when they got down early, they were never down enough early to get away from Miles Sanders. Any plan, any game plan that has Miles Sanders only touching the football 5 times is a dumb game plan to me that I will never understand. And you can't make me understand that. Because he's too dynamic of a football player, whether you throw it to him or you hand it to him. Miles Sanders needs his adequate amount of touches, no less than 15 a game for his talent and skill set. I don't care if it's 12 rushes and 3 catches, or it's 11 rushes and 6 catches, or it's 17 rushes and 3 grabs. He needs to have a minimum of 15, and he had 5. So from that point right there, and I get it, there may have been called runs in the huddle, and Hurts gets to the line of scrimmage, doesn't like the look, changes the play. It could have been a read option call, and that could be a handoff. He pulls it and runs it himself, or they go RPO, and instead of him handing it to him, he ends up throwing it. I get that. I get all of that. So some of it is on the staff. Some of it is on Hurts. But at the end of the day, Hurts wasn't very good in this game. Okay, let's look at his numbers. I remember one point in the game, I think he was like 8 of. Every time I look at his numbers, he's less than 50% as a passer. That's a problem for me. It's a problem. You can't always be doing that and expect me to look the other way. Let me take a look at the me take a look at this real quick. He was 25 of 39. At one point I saw him, I think he was like 8 of 19 in the game, but he obviously got his act together because he's 25 of 39 for 326 and 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which is not a terrible game, but you got to admit some of those yards came in garbage time when the Cowboys were essentially saying, all right, man, just let's get the hell out of here. You know, that last touchdown drive, first of all, that's a hell of a throw. As he's going out of bounds to his right, it throws it back across his body to Greg Ward. That's a hell of a throw, you know. But it was still in garbage time. You know, a lot of that got done in garbage time. So I'm hesitant to give him too much, you know, kudos. At the end of the day, everybody has to take some blame in this ass whooping. It's not just Hurts. It's not just the staff. It's not just the offensive line. It's not just, you know, the defense having guys out. Everybody had a hand in this. The defense couldn't get stops. The offense wasn't consistent enough. The offense had some massive turnovers in the game, including a pick 6 that really bust the game wide open. You can't make those types of mistakes and expect to win. So, yeah, there was a lot of mistakes out there. It wasn't just Jalen Hurts. No, it wasn't. Diehard Giants fan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, yo, Louie, we need another roundtable. Hit up Law. We'll get one done. I'd like to think we'll get another one done somewhere around the midpoint of the season, I think. We'll see. I'll get in those guys' ears eventually and see what they're talking about. But, you know, a lot of people aren't going to be, you know, wanting to do one when your team is, you know, 1-6 or 0-7 or 2-5. And you look, shit, if Washington doesn't get their act together, if the Eagles don't get their act together, if the Giants don't get their act together, that's exactly like literally Law will be gone. We won't be able to see him. The Cowboys will be somewhere like 8 car lengths ahead of us. We'll be way in the rear view. He won't be able to see us from his rear view mirror, and we won't be able to see him. Maybe a faint, you know, a faint silhouette of the vehicle as it's heading off into the sunset. But if the other teams in the division don't get their act together, Dallas may run away with this thing and hide. We'll see. A lot of football left to be played. I don't think Washington's going anywhere. I've already said that. We're going to hang tough in this thing. I think we're going to be a lot mentally tougher than people think. And I don't think we're going away, but Dallas looks good right now. That's for sure. I know Law would probably love to have one at this moment right now. With them being 2-1, the Giants 0-3, and everybody else 1-2, he'd probably love to have one right now. But let's let it simmer a bit. You know, let's get 6 to 8 games into the season. Then we'll have a real feel for what all of these teams are. Still too early right now to know who's who and what's what. You know, 0-3 is rough, but you're even at 0-3, as crazy as this sounds, the Giants are not totally dead in this division. But you needed to beat the Falcons. You really did. That one stinks. Anyway, I digress. Brandon Hayes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Brandon Hayes, writes, I think Ron and company were also reading the press clippings off season about being elite. He cut OTA short. Now he sees immaturity. He cut OTA short because he wanted to reward the players for having essentially 99% attendance in the OTAs the time prior. You know what I mean? Like they had everyone showed up except Chase Young, pretty much. And he was rewarding them for that because obviously it's not mandatory. You don't have to show up, but you really do have to show up. If you're not Chase Young, if you're not a player of the caliber of a Chase Young, you have to show up because you can be cut. You don't want to do anything to piss off the staff. So while Ron, you know, did that as a sign of and a show of good faith to the team that, hey, if you do what I ask you to do, you'll be rewarded. You know, at the same time, those guys really didn't have a choice. You know, I mean, it's like your boss telling you, hey, look, you don't have to come to this meeting that we're having today, but you should probably come to this meeting we're having today. You don't have to come. You're not required to come. You can go home. But you should come. What are you going to do? Yeah, you would like to go home early, but your boss said you don't have to come, but you should come. Wink, wink. But Ron still rewarded them anyway. So he talked about immaturity last year, and he talked about this offseason as something that he wanted to see if the players would handle the success. And this has always been a problem in Washington. This hasn't just started now. This has always been a problem in Washington. We don't handle success well. And despite going 7-9, we still won the division. And everyone was telling this defense that they were going to be this and that. And they bought into it. And look, a lot of the fans bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. I told you guys from the jump, pump your brakes and drive slow with this defense. When we saw good offenses last year, we struggled. Nobody wanted to hear that, though. You know, I didn't expect us to be world beaters, but I didn't expect this. Nobody expected this. I didn't expect us to go out here and be a top 5 defense. I told you, I thought we were actually going to be worse statistically, but we might actually be better defensively this year than we were last year. But who could have seen this start to the season defensively? Nobody. And I mean nobody could have seen the start to the season defensively that we're watching with this football team. So they've still got time to turn it around. They really do. Let's see. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dejan Bell writes, on some real shit, you think Dallas got this on lock? If they play like this all season long, yep, they do. But again, it's a small sample size. They beat the Eagles, who I don't really respect. All right. I respected their win last week against the Chargers on the road. It was ugly. It was gritty, but it was most importantly a dub. All right. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty and it was a dub. You find a way in this league, and I've said this to you before. The difference in this league between 6-10 and 10-6, or 8-8 and 10-6, or 9-7 and 11-5 and making the postseason is finding ways to win ugly. The games that aren't pretty, they're close. A mistake here, a mistake there could be all the difference in the world. They did what we couldn't do. Beat the Chargers in an ugly affair. We played the same game they played against the Chargers. Same exact game. Sloppy, turnovers, penalties, mistakes. But they found a way to win. We found a way to lose. And that's the difference in our records right now. We beat the Chargers. We're sitting in first place with the Cowboys right now at 2-1. But we lost to the Chargers. So we're 1-2 and they're 2-1. And that's the difference right now. And so I don't know if the Cowboys are going to continue to play this way against tougher competition. The thing I can tell you, though, is, and I've told you this before, when you win, you gain confidence. And it doesn't matter against who. You can beat the worst team in football. And if you pound them, like the Cowboys did the Eagles tonight, and I'm not saying the Eagles are the worst team in football, but when you beat a team like they beat the Eagles tonight, it only continues to swell your confidence. Now, that's 2 in a row. And I told you what winning does. It's a vicious, flavor, delicious cycle. And when it continues to repeat itself, it only grows and gets bigger and better and harder to stop. That momentum just builds. Winning begets confidence. Confidence begets winning. Winning begets confidence. And it just keeps going in a circle. They won last week. Their confidence grew. They won. The confidence grew. They won again this week. If they beat the Panthers, who are undefeated right now, now the Cowboys are thinking, we can beat anybody. Even though you can still argue they haven't played any real dominant teams, I think the Chargers are going to be really good. So we'll see what happens. But I don't think you can say that Cowboys or any team in this league, for that matter, have their divisions on lock. Every division right now is up for grabs, including this one. And I don't think anybody's running away with anything right now. Come back and talk to me in a month from now. We're 6 games in. We could be talking about Dallas running away with this division, because when Law went through the schedule, if you recall, Law only had them losing to Tampa Bay, and then he had them winning like 11 straight. And then I looked at a graphic after the Cowboys week 1 game. And that graphic said, after Tampa Bay, which that game had already come and gone, they had already lost, they don't play another playoff team from last season until like week 11 or something like that. Week 12 or 13. Some ridiculous number like that. So they don't get any real tests. Now, each season is different. Like the Panthers are 3-0. They were a 5-11 team, or I believe last year. They're 3-0 right now. Now, they don't have Christian McCaffrey, so that's going to make it a lot easier for the Cowboys. But I said all that to say this. It doesn't matter what a team did last year. It's what they're doing this year. And so their schedule may ultimately be a lot tougher than it may appear. You know, I think Arizona might be in that stretch for Dallas. They weren't a playoff team last year, but they're 3-0 right now. And we saw what they did to Dallas last year. And Dallas is saying, well, that was last year. Let's see what they do with us this year. We'll see. It's a lot to digest. No, to answer your question, that was a long-winded way of saying no, they don't have the division on lock, but they're really good. They played really well tonight. Jordy Goat, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Giants are dead, LOL. Eternal misery for us. Maybe. I mean, it might not be all bad. The silver lining in you starting 0-3 may be that you finally get rid of Dave Gettleman, which I know a lot of Giants fans have been trying to do for the last 3 or 4 years. So you may ultimately get your wish now. And it was going to take something drastic, similar to the way we felt about Bruce Allen. It was going to take rock bottom for that to happen. You probably need the same thing to happen, rock bottom. So you're heading down that path right now. So we'll see. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Dejan, who writes, Diggs looking like he's ready for smoke with Terry. I can tell you this much. That ain't the same Trayvon Diggs that Terry smoked last year. It ain't the same dude. That ain't the same brother. Okay. He's playing with confidence now. He's playing with swag and he's ready. Now, he can still get to work. I've always said this. Okay. Just because you ain't scared doesn't mean you can't get your ass beat. Okay. Getting your ass beat and being scared are two separate entities. You know, one does not preclude the other. Okay. Being scared is not a prerequisite to getting your ass beat. Okay. You can be a tough guy, I ain't scared, and get your ass beat. So he may be ready for the smoke. And when Terry turns the heat up, he's out there choking on the smoke. We'll see. His ass was playing ball tonight, though. That's for damn sure. That shit was impressive. He was playing some ball tonight. We'll see. All right. Got through all the comments, the super chats, I should say. So now we'll go and run through any of these hashtags real quick. Captain Spartan says, still 9:40 left, but I'm going to need Jalen Hurts to play better for the Steelers to get Javon Hargraves back. You got to let that go, bro. You got to let that go. Storm says, man, this Eagles team stinks like yesterday's stool. If you're watching the football team ain't careful, Jerry's boys could run away with the division. I'm aware. I am keenly aware of that fact that if, you know, everyone in the division, not just us, but I think we are their chief competitors in the division, to be honest with you. If we don't do something, this division could get away from everyone, and Dallas can run away with this thing and hide and have this thing locked up by Thanksgiving. Absolutely. You're not wrong, Storm. So we have to be the ones to save everybody from that fate, by the way. It won't be the Giants. It won't be the Eagles. After seeing what you saw tonight, it's not going to be the Eagles, more likely than not. The Giants are pretty much dead. You can't lose to Atlanta at home. Not at home. You go to Atlanta and you stumble up and you trip up and you slip up. Okay, it was on the road. It's not ideal, but okay. At the crib, when you retire a Legends jersey, the greatest quarterback in your franchise's history, and you can't find a way to win against the lowly Falcons, your shit's done, man. Your shit's done. Your shit stinks. I smell it all the way from here. That shit's foul. Storm also says, are there many, he says, also, are there many two teams that truly hate another from management on down to the players? Seems like true football hate is rare these days for a variety of reasons. I don't think you'll ever get it to where it was like in the 70s and maybe 80s where, you know, fan base, like it's too much camaraderie amongst players and coaches. There's just too much of that. You know, there was once upon a time where teams truly hated the other team. You know, Cowboys truly hated the Washington football team and vice versa. You know, our coach, George Allen, thought that the Cowboys were spying on us at practice. Like, it was intense. You know, you'll never get that again. It's too much camaraderie amongst organizations, players, you know, this, that, and the third. You know, owners used to actually hate other owners. Like, they're all in it together. They making money with each other. They break bread with one another. You know what I mean? Like, you eat, I eat. We all eat together. You know, that's how the owners operate. So I don't think you'll ever truly see that, you know, again. You may get fan bases that can't stand one another, and you may get a rivalry, you know, for a brief period like we had with the Seahawks and the 49ers. Those players couldn't stand each other. You had Dick Sherman talking, you know, trash to Crabtree and all kinds of, I mean, that was an intense rivalry. You know, there's probably a little bit of respect there as well, but it was an intense rivalry. You know, but, you know, Patriots and Colts with Peyton Manning there was probably some hatred there between those two teams, but it was an intense rivalry and some respect as well. But at the end of the day, you'll never get it to where it was once before. No, I don't think you'll ever get that way again. JP says, perfect time to break out that murder song. You already made me do it, man. You already made me do it. Let's see. Let's see. We got any more comments? Might have run through them. Here goes one from Juan Gotti talking sports. Stephon doing his brother Trayvon in the backyard is starting to pay off because he's balling. I can't wait for Terry to humble him again. I mean, obviously, see, what a lot of people don't understand is Trayvon was a receiver too. It's not like him and his brother grew up. One was a DB, one was a receiver. They both were receivers. Trayvon flipped over to the offensive or defensive side in college. So when he was recruited by Alabama, he was a receiver. They converted him to corner, and that's why he was somewhat raw. But the ball skills, you saw it tonight when he picked that pass off. That was not an easy catch for a cornerback, but that guy was a receiver, so that's nothing for him. So he's continuing to get better, and he's just really scratching the surface. So we'll see. JC Walters says, can Minnesota beat Cleveland? Sure they can. And they're splitting images of one another. Remember, Kevin Stefanski came from Minnesota. They know him. They know what one another wants to do. And Minnesota's capable of scoring. If they can't protect, though, it'll be a long day because Cleveland finally got that pass rush revved up last week against the Bears. And Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks. Clowney had about a sack and a half. And I think they ended up with like 9 or 10 sacks in the game against the Bears. So they're feeling good about their defense right now. But Minnesota is fully capable of winning that game for sure. Let's see. Honor Immortal writes, does it bother you when a player celebrates after a play if they're down by more than 2 scores? I mean, I don't get that. That doesn't really, you know, bother me none. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't advise a player to do it. You open yourself up to scrutiny, to people criticizing you. But, you know, in the heat of the moment, you make a play, you want to celebrate, that's on you. You got to, to me, situational awareness it's to me something that is essential throughout life, not just in sports, in life. Situational awareness to me is something that you always should have. You know, I don't care if something's hilarious at a funeral. If you look at your phone for something, you can't laugh at a funeral. It's nothing funny right now. Situational awareness. You know what I mean? So you got to understand the moment. And some guys don't get that, but I don't get upset about that stuff. That stuff doesn't, you know, I don't get bent out of shape. That's usually old man get off my lawn stuff. You know, old people get, oh my God, did you see that guy celebrating down 21? What a dummy. Or, you know, you get that all the time. I don't give a shit. I don't care. But, when you're pissed off and your team's getting their ass kicked and somebody, so yeah, if that guy, you don't like that guy, yeah, it's nothing to get upset. But again, that's not something that bothers me. Already did that one. Let's see where we are. See if we got any more comments. I think that might be it. And we've hit the hour mark, so here's one from Maurice Davis. Exactly. This division is not over after 3 games. Washington football team will come together and win this division. It's not how you start, but how you finish. That's a very true statement, but how you start can impact how you finish, right? If you start off too damn slow, and this is what we talk about as Washington football team fans, we didn't play bad for stretches against Buffalo, but when you spot a team 21 points and then you rally back and score 14 unanswered and cut it to a 7-point deficit, you've expounded so much energy trying to get back into the game that now you don't have enough to get over the hump. And then they put together another run and run you out of the building. After you score 14 unanswered, they turn around and score 22 unanswered, and now you're dead. Dead, I tell you. So, yeah, we didn't, you started slow and you actually rallied back, but it's too damn late now. That can happen. Like, we can finish the season hot. Winners of 6 straight, including mopping the division in the final 5 games. But guess what? If you started off the season 1-10, you're 7-10. You're not making the playoffs and you're not winning the division at 7-10. So who cares? So it is how you start as well. Don't want to start too damn bad, but you want to be playing your best football towards the end of the season. But we need to tighten up now, because this shit can get out of control. Now, I've talked about that already. It can get out of control fast. This thing can spiral out of control very quickly. So I hear you. But you definitely want to, it could get late real early. It could get late real early if you're not careful. Reed writes, Dallas will crumble. They always crumble. They always find a way to piss it down their leg. But I can tell you this, that this division may not allow them to piss it down their leg. So we'll see. We'll see. Reese says, winners focus on winning. Losers talk about winners. Tom Brady. Like you said, losers come up with excuses. Winners win. I've always said, let the losers worry about losing. All right? Let the losers worry about losing. Winners don't think about losing. They just try to find ways to get it done. Let the losers worry about losing. That's what I always say. Tom's, he sounds like a guy that's used to winning. I wouldn't know, but sounds like a guy that knows something, a thing or two about winning. So I take his advice. Reese says, Vinatieri is the best kicker ever, Lou. Nah, sorry, bro. Can't agree. Rings don't lie. He's got the rings, made all the big kicks in the big moments too. I disagree. You can have yours. If I put Justin Tucker in those same moments, he's coming up clutch. And every time he's had a chance, I can't fault Justin Tucker for his team not being in those situations that Vinatieri has been put in, and he succeeded. I can't take that away from Adam Vinatieri. What I can only tell you is that every time Justin Tucker's team has needed him and they put him in one of those situations, hasn't been in the Super Bowl, but I remember some clutch playoff games like the one against the Denver Broncos when they won the Super Bowl that year. They don't win it without Justin Tucker making an incredible kick late in that ball game to send that game to overtime. Well, he didn't send it to overtime. I think he won it in overtime with a massive, like 58-yard kick or whatever, after the Jacoby Jones catch sent it to overtime. Anyway, he's done this so many times in his career. And Vinatieri, for as clutch as he ain't making no 66-yard field goal with the game on the line. Okay? Vinatieri's done a lot of things. He ain't got that kind of leg. And you talk about numbers, you're talking about rings. This guy's got a ring, first and foremost. So let's not forget that. Vinatieri's got a bunch of rings as well. And I'm not disagreeing with you on that front. But this guy has a ring. And this guy owns just about every single NFL kicking record known to mankind. Highest field goal percentage in NFL history. Now he owns the record for the longest made field goal. Nobody's breaking this record, by the way. This 66-yarder, I don't see anybody breaking this record. That was indoors. Maybe you get a kicker with a massive leg out in Denver with a perfect day, with everything going right, and maybe some wind blowing in his direction. Maybe somebody could kick it from 67, 68 in Denver, but I don't see anybody beating this record. So I'll take Justin Tucker. You can have Adam Vinatieri. Give me Justin Tucker. Let's see. I think that might be the last hashtag out there. Here's one from J Mart. J Mart writes, mentally, we are not good on D. We have some talent, but players lack football smarts. Always out of position or playing catch up. Scheme doesn't fit. Thoughts? I mean, I won't go as far as to say our players lack football smarts as much as I think that they are robots. Instead of having more instincts, because these dudes know football, but instead of them doing the things that they know they're supposed to be doing, they're playing the defense as it's called. I like to refer to it as they're reacting like the computer on a video game. They're acting like the computer on Madden. If it says cover 2 and there's a big purple zone bubble here and here, that's where the computer is going to be, and he's not going to venture out of that bubble. If there are two, dark purple bubbles up here, that's where they're going to be, and he's not going to come down because he's super smart. He's going to do the computer thing because that's what he's supposed to do. And it takes a different type of player to understand that, yeah, guy's coming in my zone. I got no other responsibility over here. How about I just take this guy? And we don't seem to have that. So maybe that speaks to your lack of football smarts. I just think they're operating like robots. This is my zone. I'm going to stay in my zone. And it's not good enough. I can tell you that much. Superstar J writes, Ron is a losing coach. Without Cam, that's a fact. He has never been able to find a QB. It is what it is. When he got to Carolina, Cam got to Carolina. They got there at the same time. So I can't speak to what he is or isn't or can or can't do with or without Cam. He always had Cam. So I don't know. There is no real empirical proof. There's no data that says, for 5 years, Ron Rivera was without Cam Newton, and this is what he did. I don't have that with me. I don't have that accessible because there isn't any of that data. So I can't co-sign that statement. Sports Talker 69 says, which player on offense for the Washington football team needs to step up the most? The quarterback. On offense, this is the quarterback. That's for any team, not just Washington football team. If your quarterback stinks, you don't have a shot. You go as far as your quarterback takes you in this league. You can have a really good defense and a sound run game, but even the Titans and the Browns still need their respective QBs to make plays, and they've got a good defense, a hell of an offensive line, and a ridiculous run game in both of those situations. With Derrick Henry in Tennessee and the combination of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in Cleveland, you still need Baker Mayfield to make throws. You still need Ryan Tannehill to make throws. You're only going to go as far as those guys take you. So for Washington, it's definitely the quarterback. Octane ATL3 says, Washington at Atlanta, early thoughts. My early thoughts are, if we can't beat Atlanta, we need to pack our things up and go home. Our season's probably done. That's how I feel. And I watched that game against the Giants. The Falcons stink. They downright stink. And if they get their rocks off against us, if they score, they've struggled to score on everyone except Tampa. That's family business, though. So that shit don't even count. I don't even pay that game any attention because they know Tampa. Tampa knows them. So throw all of the stats and all the records out the window when you're playing a family member. I watched them against Philly. I watched them against the Giants. They struggled to score against both teams. Should have lost to the Giants because Matt Ryan threw up a moon ball for an interception to Adoree Jackson. And he dropped it back in the end zone. Would have been a game clincher. Falcons stink. Now, I've been surprised at how well they've played defensively to start this season off. And maybe the teams that they've played, like the Eagles and the Giants, aren't all that great on offense anyway. But they've hung tough defensively. I'm not overlooking the Falcons. They are capable of not only beating us, but embarrassing us. If we play the way we played this past week against Buffalo, we will not only go to Atlanta and lose, they will embarrass us and get back to 500. But I look at the Falcons and I say, we're better than them. This is the week the defensive line has their eyes light up and say, finally, a non-mobile quarterback, a statue, somebody that we can get after that isn't going anywhere. And yeah, they're going to do the same shit everybody else is doing. They're going to chip, and they're going to get it out of Matt Ryan's hands quickly, and he's going to dump it down to Cordero Patterson, who I think has been fantastic this year. And they're going to get it to Calvin Ridley, and they're going to get it to Kyle Pitts, and they're going to do all the things that everybody else has been doing to us. But if Matt Ryan is holding on to that rock, if he's holding on to that peel, and we can't get to him, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And if we can't go to Atlanta and find a way to win, we're in trouble. Lots and lots of trouble. So those are my early thoughts on that game. Got a super chat here. I don't think I missed this one earlier, or maybe it's late. Yes, this one just came in, so I don't feel bad. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat and tripling up. Greatly appreciate you. Dejan Bell writes, how do I join the mob for the Washington football team? There is a join button that exists on my homepage. There is a join button that exists where the subscribe button is, where the like buttons are, all of that stuff. When you go to videos, you'll see join. That's the button you hit. I would advise you to watch the video first so that you know what it all entails that goes along with it. The video with me with the Mob Squad shirt on, that's the video you might want to check out. But yeah, it's not hard to join if you're interested in joining. Also, the link is in the description of this and every single video that I do. If you just want to take the shortcut to join, just hit that link down in the description of this video. So thank you for that super chat, Dejan Bell, and hopefully you become a member of the mob. So let's see. We already passed our hour mark, but I'm going to take a couple more comments. Chase Lineberger writes, it feels like this Falcons game is really our measuring stick game. I think it's our season measuring game. If you want to go have yourself a season, you got to beat the Atlanta Falcons. You have no shot at having a season if you can't beat the Falcons. That's how I view this one. I know what you're trying to say. Like, nah, we're not on the Bills level. We're really on the Falcons level. Let's see what we do. If we can't beat the Falcons, we can't beat them soundly, then we stink. Well, I don't give a shit if we beat the Falcons 13-12. I just want to beat them. Get back to 500. Have a fighting chance this season. But we'll see what happens. J Mark writes, the robot D is definitely a recipe for losing. I watch other teams and they go off script. We have to get creative. And it's not always like going off script. You still want to play within the confines of the defense, but know what the principles are of the defense and what your responsibilities are. If you've got the deepest third and there's nobody, like, I'll give you a great example. Jair Alexander, and you see this all the time with really good football players that know. And those who know. So Jair Alexander last night they're playing cover 3 are the 49ers. Okay. And so he is playing a third of the football field. He's got the deepest of the deepest in his third of the field and the widest of the widest on his third of the field. There was no threat in his area. There was no deep route. There was no one going outside. There was nobody that he had to cover on that particular play. All the action was on the other side of the field. And so the Packers, they ran a deep post over the middle of the football field. So the safety essentially is, and really, I think it ended up being, might have been a safety. It might have been a linebacker too. I think it was a safety that was covering George Kittle one-on-one over his deep third. So it was probably the safety. And Kittle screaming down the middle of the field. He's outrun that defender. And Jimmy Garoppolo lays it out there thinking he's going to beat this guy one-on-one. And he did. But what he didn't account for was Jair Alexander coming from the other side of the field who said, I got no threat in my zone, so I'm free to go and make a play elsewhere. So he runs all the way over to the middle of the football field and intercepts the pass. That's an example of knowing that I don't have any responsibility, no imminent threat in my zone. So now I'm able to go help out a fellow teammate. You got to be smart and understand what your job is. It's not necessarily freelancing or going off script as much as it is, hey, my responsibility's already been taken care of. I got nobody threatening me in my zone. I need to go help out a teammate who's struggling right now. A guy's running through your zone. You got no threats in your zone. Run with him. He's passing you. Run with him. Don't just say, well, this is my zone. I'm going to stand here. And he runs out of your zone to open space. And you say, well, I was in my zone. No, pattern match him. He's in your zone. Pattern match him. Run with him. You got no threat in your zone. Now, if a guy threatens your zone, you got to do your job. You can't do somebody else's job. But match him. We just let guys run through the zone. Don't touch them. Don't bang on them. Don't impede their progress. And then we don't run with them. We just let guys run 16 yards up the field and sit down and nobody touches the guy. Mind you, it's 3rd and 13 and we let a guy run 16 yards, hook up, and sit down with nobody around him. That's the shit that we do. And that's dumb. Because that same guy ran past 2-3 defenders to get where he got. And nobody thought, let me run with this dude. Ain't nobody else in my zone. Let me run with this guy. That's the shit that pisses me off. Because you know football. You know what's up. But everybody's strifing in their little zone. I'm good. I'm in my zone. I'm doing my job. That's bullshit. Kevin the PRF says, you mentioned Hurts and Smith earlier, and you made me think back to Jake Delhomme. Mad at everyone for a bad pass except himself. You get people like that sometimes, man. And Jake was the king of just throwing some shit up. Throwing some shit up. Thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB. Jordan Jones, stand up. You are officially in the building as a brand new member of the MOBB. Jordan, thank you for your membership. Mom, you know what to do. Show Jordan some love. Welcome aboard to the squad. Look forward to chopping it up with you, Double J. Dejan Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, our coaches need to hear you. They know this stuff. That's the part that's frustrating. They know this. They know more football than me. They know what's up. We just don't see it happening on the field. And that's not always indicative of the coaches not teaching these guys that. It could be the guys just not going out and having what's being taught in the film room and on the practice field, having it carry over to the game. But some of that stuff is instinctual too. Like your coach can't be there holding your hand to tell you, hey, you got no threats in your zone. Okay. So if this guy runs across your zone or this guy crosses your face, just run with him. Like the coach can't be there to tell you that. You got to know that. Anyway, I digress. That's it. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to read this one from Bree on my way out, though. He says, beg to differ, Lou. Coaches can be cool. BA is cool as hell. I didn't say coaches can't be cool. That's not what I said. I said coaches can't do things that put their team at a disadvantage or try to be cool and to their players, to appear cool to their players at the expense of their opponents. That's what I said. Okay, so let me specify that. Ain't nothing wrong with being cool. There's some cool-ass coaches around the league. BA being one of the best. I always talk about Uncle Bruce, the cool cat with the Kango to match. Uncle Bruce. Y'all know what it is. But Bruce isn't wearing, beat Dallas t-shirts, or he isn't calling out his opponents. That's not what Bruce does. Bruce is a cool-ass dude. But Bruce ain't putting his team at a disadvantage because he wants to flap his gums or he wants to make a statement with a shirt or, whatever. It's different levels to this thing. So, anyway, I digress. I said I digest. That's when I know it's time to go. I appreciate you guys for joining me tonight. That was a fun game. Just because I'm an NFC East family member, and it's always good to see a family member get their asses torn up, even if it's at the hands of another family member that I don't particularly care that much about. Still, it's always good to see an ass whooping take place. And on the other end, the recipient on the other end of that ass whooping is a family member not named the Washington football team. It's always great. So Dallas destroyed the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night, 41-21 in their home opener. And man, was it impressive on both sides of the football. The Dallas Cowboys were dominant. I think they put the rest of the NFC East on notice as to say, look, y'all got to step y'all game up, man. This is what we on right now. Y'all got to step y'all game up or we going to run away and hide with this thing. So statement made loud and clear. I heard you. I can't speak for any other fans in this division, but I heard you loud and clear. Message received. We got to step our game up. So we'll see what happens. But that was impressive. If you're an Eagles fan, the sky is not falling. The division is not over because you lost this game. Your season is not over. But you're going to have to play a lot better than you played tonight. And that's 2 weeks in a row where your offense simply was not good enough. Simply not good enough. And for the first 2 weeks, your defense was outstanding. Your defense was absolutely shredded tonight. And I got that some of your guys were out. Next man up. The lack of depth is alarming if this is what happens when one or two guys are out of the lineup. So, and your best player was playing in Fletcher Cox. So I don't really want to hear any excuses from that standpoint. Big win for the Cowboys. They take sole possession of first place in the NFC East with the win at 2-1. Meanwhile, the Eagles dropped to second, tied with Washington at 1-2, with the Giants bringing up the rear at 0-3. So that'll do it for me, your man, Louie T. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. LouieTeeNetwork podcast will be tomorrow. We'll break down all of Week 3's action. Lots of good football games to talk about. Had a chance to watch all of them. And so we'll do that tomorrow on the podcast. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys then. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, telling you, get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. You guys have a good one. God bless, and good night.